Let us begin. Bollocks. So I told my brother, RomaruDarkeyes, back when I was working on the Croc review, that I'd be working on this review next. And because this is one of his favourite games growing up as well, he asked to be a part of it.
Indeed, Dino Crisis 1 was one of the first PlayStation games that I actually purchased with my own money. Up until that point, most of them were either parental gifts at birthdays or Christmas, and it's got a special place in my heart.
In 1996, the Sony's PlayStation saw the release of Resident Evil, a game set in a mansion in a forest where players struggle to survive against zombies and horrifying monsters, in a desperate attempt to escape. The game was a groundbreaking success and is always seen on the top 10 list for best horror games of all time. With that success came a sequel in 1998, Resident Evil 2. Now the game had started a franchise which to this day is still going and has a number of spin-offs and sequels to its library. After the release of Resident Evil 2, Capcom started working on another idea. This title, rather than being referred to as survival horror, was promoted as being survival panic, even though there's a huge amount of similarities to Resident Evil. This new project had one key difference. Instead of the undead, the enemies would be more prehistoric. Clearly inspired by the popularity of the Jurassic Park movie in 1993 and its sequel The Lost World in 1997, and hoping to catch lightning in a bottle again, in 1999, Capcom released Dino Crisis for the PlayStation.
Shinji Mikami, creator and director of Resident Evil, also directed this game, and the similarities are undeniable. From the opening title card, where this game contains scenes of violence and gore, the tight corridors with multiple enemies, the lack of ammunition, healing items, and at certain points during the game, enemies will enter through doors chasing you down. This is similar to the Nemesis in Resident Evil 3, released in the same year. Regina's also an unlockable skin for Jill in that same game.
The first Jurassic Park film is still one of my favourite movies of all time, and Resident Evil is one of my favourite game series of all time. So it was only natural that Dino Crisis was a game I had to play.
I happened to pick up a copy of PlayStation Magazine number 45. Wasn't into collecting the magazine particularly, but this one had the Dino Crisis actually as a feature and as a playable demo. Consisted of 3 short stages, all of which were part of the main game, broken into smaller levels. Each one was a different difficulty setting. Easiest, you had to tackle one lone raptor, and the hardest having to fight the T-Rex. We played this demo to death, so when it was released onto shelves, I grabbed it as soon as I could.
I remember having so much fun playing this game as a kid, spending hours battling dinosaurs and solving puzzles. I also remember the story being really good as well, but this is when we were kids. Now that we're older and have more appreciation for these things, as well as a more analytical approach to gaming, does it still hold up today? Well, let's take a look and find out. The game begins with an unknown person receiving an email from a field agent named Tom. Tom was sent undercover to a military research facility on Ibis Island to investigate reports of new secret weapons being produced. While there, he discovers a man named Dr. Kirk is the head of the research team. Dr. Kirk was a world-renowned scientist who was supposed to have died in an explosion in his research lab 3 years before. From this, it's pretty clear that his death was staged so that he could continue whatever he was researching on in secret, and whatever this research was, it couldn't be good. The unknown figurehead then sends out orders to infiltrate the facility and apprehend Kirk. Enter SWORD, the Secret Operation Raid Team. But this name is never referenced in the game once, only in the game manual. You take control of Regina, the intelligence gatherer and weapons specialist of the team. With you on the mission is Gale, the team leader and generic soldier character, Rick, the tech specialist, and Cooper, the team's radio man.
The team parachutes onto the island, rendezvousing at the beach. However, the severe weather turbulence sends Cooper off course from the others, and upon the remaining members of the team reaching the back end of the facility, Rick enters and makes for the first floor control room, leaving Gale and Regina to investigate the strange lack of guards and the damaged fencing.
That's disgusting.
Regina's first task is to turn on the backup generator of the control room, so Rick can access the computers. Gale leaves you to turn on the generator, but upon doing so, Regina hears gunfire and a strange noise. Exiting the generator room, Regina finds Gale gone, which leads to one of the most disturbing scenes in early PlayStation. This earlier stage of the game is handled pretty well. Up until this point, aside from the T-Rex during the intro, we haven't actually seen a dinosaur. You're left wondering when it's going to happen. It's suspenseful and perfectly paced, building up to the tension until the moment it actually does happen.
After meeting up with Rick in the control room and explaining Gale's disappearance, Regina decides that they need to continue looking for Kirk, and this begins a short exploration of the open areas. Oh hey, a dead guy! I'll just take this, since you won't be needing it anymore. A card key with the word Leo on it. Okay. Eventually this will lead to the office sections on the second floor, where you encounter the first of many locked doors requiring special items called DDKs, or digital disk keys. Every door requires 2 disks of the same letter type, the code disk and the input disk. Inputting both disks gives you the password screen and a jumbled set of letters or numbers. Using the information given in the key section aids you when solving the code. For example, for this door, the key displays the letters B, C, F, G, and I. Removing these letters from the letters in the above code section leaves the 4-letter word head, which is the passcode. While not every door functions the same way, there's a similar logic to solving each one. Okay, now that's done, let's get into the manager's office.
Oh hey, a nearly dead guy. And he's given us another card key. This one's got Soul written on it. Huh, looks like they both work with this safe. Okay, seems simple enough. Now it's asking for a number code. What number code? Bear in mind that for early PlayStation games, we used to play with a notepad next to the console so that we could make notes like for passwords and other useful tidbits of information. I'm not kidding, I spent several hours looking for clues as to this number code that I'd missed. Remember, this was the days before a reasonable internet connection was available commercially. In our family, well, let's just say we joined the World Wide Web later than most. So, once you work out this number code is actually written on the keys, the letters S-O-L-L-E-O being written in digital, so that when read the right way round, you would read 037705. You can actually loot the card from the safe. That's safely in your possession. You... Fuck!
Oh yeah, the T-Rex! Well, along the course of the story, Regina not only reunites with Gale, but also, a number of times, runs into this asshole, who after the team are successful in capturing Dr. Kirk, proceeds to destroy the extraction chopper, causing not only the Doctor to escape back into the facility, but also prevents the team's own escape from the island. This thing really holds a grudge.
During the aftermath of the chopper's destruction, Regina and Rick learn that there is an underground port. You heard that right, an underground port, meaning that it will still have a way of escaping. After another encounter with the T-Rex, Regina is able to acquire the port key, but upon opening the door...
What is that?
I saw something like this in Kirk's personal lab.
As it turns out, Dr. Kirk was attempting to create an everlasting energy source. The result? The third energy. However, the experiment that Kirk produced, instead of creating an energy source, swaps it with another energy source from another time, effectively a displacement. The result is the reason why the dinosaurs are roaming around in the facility. They were occupying the same space where the facility stood 65 million years in the past. After apprehending Dr. Kirk once again, the team decide to overload the third energy generator to remove the vortex blocking their path to the port. When they do this, the resulting explosion will destroy the entire facility, so they need to be quick escaping afterwards. Regina succeeds in overloading the generator, but a shockwave causes the ceiling above Gale and Dr. Kirk to give way. Gale is pinned under the debris, and once again Kirk escapes, though not before Gale plants a tracker on him.
I should mention that at certain points during the game, Rick and Gale will be at odds with each other about what to do regarding the mission, leaving you, as Regina, to decide which person you want to follow. Except for the last situation, none of these choices you make will have any lasting effect on the story, but rather dictate how challenging your game will be. Siding with Rick means a more puzzle-structured game, where you'll be using your head to get past the obstacles in your path. Siding with Gale means more combat situations, where you'll most likely have a large number of dinosaurs to evade or fight through, in order to reach the intended goal. It's also likely that picking Gale will result in you using a lot more of your ammunition, making your journey a lot more difficult. So if you want to conserve your ammo, your best option is to side with Rick. The final conflict sees an injured Gale attempting to go after Kirk, and Rick wanted to leave him and just escape the island. The choice you make results in one of 3 endings.
If you pick Rick's choice, Regina knocks out the already injured Gale, and with Rick, carries him and the 3 head to the port. After a quick refuel of the hovercraft, the T-Rex begins to cause trouble, and Regina opts to go and distract it to give Rick enough time to finish repairing the craft. At the last second, Rick will fire a rocket at the fuel container next to the Rex, allowing Regina to board the craft. The scene ends with the 3 escaping the island, as the T-Rex and the facility are engulfed by the 3rd energy explosion. If you pick Gale's choice, Regina follows and eventually catches up to him, where he has Dr. Kirk cornered. Handing Regina a disc, Gale then drops a big bombshell. The real reason that they were sent to the island was not to capture Kirk, but to obtain the data research on the 3rd energy, because of its potential as a weapon. A government using an alternate agenda to secretly acquire something that they wanted? That sort of thing would surely never happen in real life. Kirk being alive and researching in secret meant that the project had to be weapon related, and the government wanted that weapon, so they sent in Sword. Gale, being the team leader, was privy to the secret agenda and was tasked with acquiring the data. But in case he was unsuccessful, the capture of Dr. Kirk himself would still mean that the government would get the weapon data that they needed. At this point, the injuries he suffers take their toll on Gale and he dies. Kirk then receives a punch to the face for gloating about his so-called reward for doing his mission. They return to the port and Rick takes Kirk into custody onto the hovercraft. Regina, following behind, runs into the T-Rex, which is dead. That's anticlimactic.
Oh, bullshit! You're telling me it was playing possum? Why?
The surviving trio take the hovercraft out, but the T-Rex gives chase in the water behind, leading to Regina fighting it off. Rick then attempts to destroy the T-Rex with the missile, but fails, so Regina uses the plot-convenient C4, hoses it into the open mouth of the Dino, and then nukes the fucker, allowing him to escape.
The 3rd and final ending is obtained regardless of which choice you make. Once you make your choice, Regina can head for the heliport. Choosing Rick's option, Regina will find Kirk at the heliport and recapture him. Picking Gale's option, Regina will find the chopper on its own. Returning to Gale at this point, both he and Regina will take Kirk to the heliport. Rick will then contact her to tell her that the T-Rex destroyed the hovercraft. Regina heads back to rescue Rick, resulting in a final standoff with the T-Rex on a moving carrying platform. Damaging the T-Rex enough and causing it to slow down, Regina and Rick run to the chopper and take off. The T-Rex, having caught up at this point, gives chase. Rick, finally fed up, drops a bomb onto the chasing Rex, killing it instantly, and the 4 survivors escape the island.
After the credits, the unknown presence from the start receives another email, this time from Regina, giving her final report for the mission. Depending on your ending, she reports differently on certain events, such as the status of Gale and Kirk, as well as the retrieval of the data disk. The story for Dino Crisis is really good. From the opening sequence when you start the game to the climactic escape at the end, there's always plenty going on that keeps you interested and immersed. Each character does a good job of making you either like them or dislike them at the right times. The idea of the 3rd energy plot device is actually really inventive, and it could easily seen it being a viable one. I mean, we've had plots about virus-created zombies, intergalactic bounty hunters, and hell, we've had a plot about the world being run by secret organizations, so why can't we have time-traveling dinosaurs?
If there's one aspect about the story and characters that I have to pick holes in, it's to do with Rick and Gale. Gale is supposed to be in charge of the operation, and whenever he and Rick argue about the mission and what to do next, why does he never pull rank? Think about it, he could just state that as leader, his orders have to be followed. His character gives off that he's a seasoned veteran, who's very by the book about things. In his mind, it's all about the mission, even going so far as to chase after Kirk at the cost of his own life. Rick, by contrast, is the opposite, caring more about responding to a distress call from Tom, a fellow team member, than completing the mission. Most of the time he'll go off and pursue his own agenda, which is ensuring that his team is fine and that they have an escape plan before anything else. There's plenty of things that make you simultaneously like and dislike both these guys, since they both have merits and faults to their characters. Gale can be hot-headed and a little too adamant at times about completing the mission, making him seem uncaring. But at the same time, you've got to respect him because, as the leader, he's making the tough decisions. Yeah, he could drop everything and go rescue Tom, but that gives Kirk more opportunities to get away, and potentially a rescue mission could endanger the rest of the team, which, for the leader, they have to ensure the safety of every team member, not just a single one. Plus, while some of his suggestions are potentially dangerous, since it would be putting Regina in the path of a lot of dinosaurs, they are the quickest and most effective strategies to achieving the goal. And he wouldn't give her orders like this if he wasn't confident in her ability to carry them out. Brick, by contrast, you can depend on to come to your aid if you're in trouble, and will always look for the safest solutions to a problem, because he's putting his teammates' lives ahead of the mission. Unfortunately, where he falters is that he drops everything at a moment's notice to do his own thing, making him unpredictable. In a battlefield situation, that kind of recklessness is what can endanger the entire team, resulting in potentially worse outcomes. Similarly, a lot of Rick's suggestions are time-consuming and potentially risky, such as trying to open an emergency passageway to escape a lab before the area is completely sealed off, rather than just following Gale's quicker option of just fighting past dinosaurs to escape, as well as his suggestion of building the devices needed to overload the generator, compared with Gale's choice of finding the completed ones that already exist. Dr. Kirk is made out as the villain of the game, but the way he's presented, he's very much like just any other scientist that we've seen before. All he really cared about was his research and seeing his ideas come to life. Of course, he let the power go to his head, and that meant a lot of the time he was removing obstacles in his path to achieve this, such as killing people or leaving them for dead. So he's not without fault or blame, and it is his experiment that causes this whole mess to begin with. If he was that bothered about the loss of human life, he'd have stopped the experiment until there were safety measures in place. That just leaves Regina. And to be honest, since she's the player-controlled character, you'd think she'd have more personality to her, but most of the time she just sits and listens to the other characters around her. Most of the lines she has when she does speak end up being either just cocky one-liners or her reaction to the current situation. I'll be honest, this is the main character, and I'd like to see more from her than just sarcasm. We can see that she has a lot of respect for her teammates, but we know nothing about what sort of relationship they all have. Even some throwaway lines of previous missions would have been something.
Much like Resident Evil before it, depending on your completion time and how often you save, you can be rewarded with extra features, such as alternative costume skins, and an extra battle mode called Operation Wipeout, the goal being to kill as many dinosaurs as possible within the time limit. Finishing the game 3 times, obtaining each of the 3 endings, gives you unlimited ammo for the grenade gun. The alternative costumes you have access to are the Battle type, the Army type, and after completing the game for a second time, the Ancient type, which changes all Regina's weapons to look like fossils of some sort.
I could be wrong, but I'm sure the Battle and Army type costumes have added bonuses. There's been a number of times where I've used the Army type costume and have been able to inflict more damage as a result. And there's also been some times where I've used the Battle type costume and I've been able to take more damage than I normally would. I'm sure the Army type makes Regina's weapons more powerful, and the Battle type gives Regina more health in battle. If anyone has any idea whether this is true or not, I'd love to know, because I can't find anything to back up this.
Gameplay-wise, Dino Crisis plays exactly the same as Resident Evil. You control Regina with the D-pad, or the left analog stick, holding down the square button to run. Holding down the R1 button allows Regina to aim her gun, and pressing the X button while holding down the R1 fires the gun. When surrounded by enemies, the L1 button allows you to change your target, making it easier to take down multiple enemies without being overwhelmed. But just in case, you can do a 180 quick turn with the R2 button so you can escape. It's no surprise that many gamers feel that the game is a rip-off, calling it Resident Evil with dinosaurs. But that's what makes the game awesome and scary for different reasons. In Resident Evil, when zombies chase after you, they move along slowly, and despite taking damage, constantly shamble towards you. While seeing that is terrifying, as no matter what you hit them with, they're constantly coming towards you until they're stopped. At the same time, they are moving slowly, so eventually you can take them down, or at the very least avoid battle altogether if you're good enough at dodging them. In Dino Crisis, the dinosaurs are bigger, faster, stronger, more intelligent. Okay, maybe not that intelligent, but they can play dead to lure you to walk towards them. And if the corridor's really small, you're not getting around them without taking damage.
There's also extra features that make Dino Crisis stand out from Resident Evil, like being able to move with your weapon drawn. Being a weapon expert, Regina also has the ability to create more ammunition, in the form of darts, as well as extra healing items like med packs. Depending on the item's mix leads to the creation of different strengths of items, with the most powerful darts being poison darts that can take down any enemy in one shot, and the most powerful healing items being resuscitation packs, which upon being killed can revive Regina as long as one of them is in your inventory. If Regina takes bite damage from a dinosaur, sometimes it can cause her to bleed. In order to stop the bleeding, you need to use a hemostat or a high-level med pack. Trust me, you need to do this as soon as possible, because blood attracts dinosaurs like a shark, and since they can follow you through doors, you're constantly going to get chased down until you heal yourself. Sometimes there's laser grids you can activate to stop dinosaurs from attacking you, and in some cases they can even prevent them from following you through the doors. Which is a big help, but don't always rely upon them, as most of the time you'll need to turn them off again, because the game requires a lot of backtracking.
A key graphical difference between Dino Crisis and the Resident Evil games is that the environments are actually 3D models. In Resident Evil, the areas are pre-rendered backgrounds with a 3D model walking over the picture, changing size to match the camera view. But in Dino Crisis, the area you travel through was fully polygon models, making the environments much more alive and atmospheric. During the game, Regina has access to 3 different weapons: the handgun, shotgun, and grenade launcher. On easy mode, you'll have all 3 weapons from the start, but higher difficulties require you to find the shotgun and grenade launcher separate. You have the handgun from the beginning, but you'll learn really early on in the game that it does fuck all to dinosaurs. Even on the easy mode, it takes 6 shots to take 1 raptor down, and most of the time, you're not up against 1 raptor on its own. Not only that, but with dinosaurs being much faster than you, by the time you pop 3 bullets in it, you've already been jumped on by the damn thing. It's essential to get the shotgun when you can, as not only does it have more power than the handgun, it's extremely versatile with the different ammunition types you can use with it, including the aforementioned darts. Not only that, but it does delay some of the attacks from the raptors, whereas the handgun doesn't tend to do anything. They'll just keep moving towards you even though they're taking damage. The grenade launcher basically serves as the boss battle weapon. You can use it against any dinosaur, but since the shotgun can take out regular enemies, using grenades on anything else except the T-Rex should be avoided, especially as ammo is quite scarce. Now you might think that having 3 weapons is rather limited, and while that may be true, at different sections of the game you can get your hands on upgrades for each weapon. These upgrades increase not only the weapon's overall power, but also improve the firing rate and reloading time too, though the upgrade to the handgun really doesn't help all that much. It means 1 or 2 fewer bullets to kill a dinosaur, but you're still going to end up getting tail whipped while you're trying to take the thing down.
At any point, you're able to bring up the map of the facility, which fills out as you explore. But if you look carefully, you can find floor plans, which can instantly fill areas out, detailing what places are locked or unexplored, and even indicate doors you can gain access to. Sometimes it can feel a bit awkward working out where you're meant to go next, especially if you don't know where to look for the floor plans. But using your map and checking every door you pass, it shouldn't give you too much trouble. What will give you trouble though, and one of my biggest problems with this game, is the inventory. When you acquire new weapons or their upgrades, they have their own slot, which doesn't take up space. Same with any key items you get along the way, like keycards or tools. But for ammunition and medical supplies, you only have 10 spaces in your inventory. Now I know what you're thinking. With only 3 weapons, you wouldn't really have a lot of trouble with storing ammo, right? And under normal circumstances, you'd be right. But there's one glaring problem. You have a capacity to your ammo stacks, and if you fill a stack, it carries over and creates a new stack. For example, shotgun ammo only stacks 10 shells at a time, so if I have 11 shells, the lone shell takes up its own space in the inventory. The same thing happens with medical supplies as well, but it gets even worse there because medical items have a stack limit of 2! To balance this out, there are storage boxes located all throughout the facility, similar again to Resident Evil, but each one's color-coded to specific items, with green being healing, red ammunition, and yellow being a blend of different items. In order to access a box, you need to find a corresponding number of items called plugs, which you can find during the events of the game. Some are in plain view, and others can be hidden in the background and require thorough searching of rooms and hallways to find. You can access previously open boxes from any new ones you access, though only boxes of the same color. While that makes sense and makes it more rewarding when you find plugs to open more boxes, why in the hell is there a stack limit to items in the first place? Why can't all ammo or medical supplies of the same type be stacked into 1 slot each? I've had a shitload of playthroughs where I've needed a med pack, I found one, attempted to pick it up, but found that my inventory is filled with stacks containing 1 or 2 stray bullets from filled up stacks of ammo. Now, you might be nitpicky and say, it's supposed to be realistic and you wouldn't be able to carry everything at once, but every other horror game at this time allowed you to at least stack your ammo. It may not be realistic, but who cares? It's convenient, especially since dinosaurs take so much damage to kill.
Speaking of the dinosaurs, there's a few different varieties that you'll see along the course of your game. The most common type you're going to see is the Velociraptor, who litter just about every hallway and room you travel through. My advice? Avoid them, but if you have no choice but to fight, take out the ones in the hallways, as you'll find yourself travelling through those more often than one-off rooms that are bigger and more manoeuvrable in. Towards the end of the game, you'll face raptors that are a different colour and more resistant to weapons fire, but by that point, if you've been conserving ammo and nabbing the upgrades, these guys shouldn't give you too much trouble.
Next we have Pteranodons, which come off as more annoying than a threat. You only see them outdoors, and after the halfway point of the game, you're underground and never see them again. You really don't need to waste ammo on them, and you can dodge them pretty easily. They seem to be more that they were added purely because they were a well-known dinosaur, and the creators needed to add more variety to the enemies. Maybe if the game had you go outside more, they'd actually be more imposing, but we don't get that. Compsognathus. Oh boy, why are these even here? You only see them twice in the whole game, they barely do any damage to you, and they're easily avoidable. Really, what was the point of their inclusion? Oh hey, look at that. The handgun can kill them with one shot. The handgun has use!
Therizinosaurus. Now we're getting somewhere. If your raptors are your inventory, these guys are basically your tanks. They can follow you through doors like raptors, but they're extremely resistant to weapons fire in general, even shotgun fire. They appear in the second half of the game, generally in the larger corridor areas, but these larger corridors don't make them any easier to evade, and these assholes hit hard, and I mean seriously hard. If you're caught on the ground too long, BAM! Instant death stomp.
While you can try and take them on with a grenade launcher, that weapon really should be kept for the T-Rex encounters you have. Instead, my favourite tactic is mixing together poison darts, and saving them for these guys only, since one dart instantly kills any dinosaur. Barring the T-Rex, of course. Finally, we come to the T-Rex, the only major boss of the whole game. You only face off against it 4 times during the course of a playthrough, but each time is when you least want to. After its introduction fight in the second floor office, it relentlessly pursues you through the whole story, even going so far as to destroy the chopper to keep you from escaping. This thing really wants to eat you, and even after the final battle with it, you, the player, never truly finish it off, but rather just survive its wrath until you can escape.
Dinosaurs aren't the only hazard in this game. At certain points during the game, Regina will be caught up in a life or death situation, highlighted by the word danger flashing on the screen. When this happens, you need to quickly mash all the buttons on the controller as quickly as possible. If you're successful, Regina escapes in the nick of time, but if you fail, well, not so lucky. I think this is one of the earliest examples of a QuickTime event, but unlike QuickTime events of today, they're nowhere near as overused or as bullshit, as they don't require you to actually type in a certain button combination or prompt. They just make you smash the keypad repeatedly, and they give you plenty of time to react to them as well. It's just enough to keep you on your toes, which I like, as it never lets the atmosphere get too stale, and always keeps you tense wondering what's going to happen next. There's a lot of challenging puzzles at different points of the game, some requiring more thought and exploration to solve them. Most of the time it's searching for a simple number code to a locked safe, and other times it's rewriting a researcher's lab card using his DNA. You also have a few unique puzzles should you pick Rick's options during the playthrough. They can range from a memory game, where you had to remember the right sequence of letters on the screen, to using a crane to remove large crates obstructing your path.
One final thing to make note of is the music. It's fantastic and I love it. There are pieces that fit every situation of the game, ranging from the tense quiet moments where you're unsure of where you are or if something's around the next corner, to holy shit, dinosaurs! Even the save room has recognizable music, and it's always a relief to hear it because you're safe knowing that nothing can hurt you while you're there. 2 tracks stick out in my mind as being the best examples of this. The first is when you enter the main hall of the facility for the first time. It's only a couple of notes on a piano with some backing bass and percussion, but it sets the mood of the entire game in just a few seconds. It really makes you feel like you're on your own. The second track is when you're activating the communication tower. You exit out onto the outer walkway and all the automatic locks activate, locking you outside.
Regina, what happened? See, the lock on the second floor's just been activated.
I'm a bit busy right now. Do something.
Oh no.
Run, bitch! Run!
All the way through this T-Rex encounter, this music is playing, and the first time I ever reached this part, I was fucking terrified. And the music only makes it that much more atmospheric. You're on the edge of your seat trying to avoid death, and it's amazing when a game can do that. And it's even more amazing that I still get chills to this day when I reach this part during replays.
As one of the first games I purchased with my own cash, Dino Crisis does hold a special place in my heart. From the first time I got that black case with the raptor's claw on the front, I knew there was going to be a good suspenseful ride to be had. As you might expect, graphically it hasn't stood the test of time, looking more akin to a dinosaur-themed Lego set nowadays. But oddly enough, the dinosaurs themselves look better than the human characters, even now. I suppose that's to be expected, as they are more the title characters than Regina herself. The music's still impressive if the visuals haven't weathered the test of time, and graphics alone are not something that should make or break a game, something that really needs to be beaten back into game devs now. We'll explore this in a discussion video at some point, as to whether graphics are the main driving force behind games development nowadays.
Dino Crisis is a game that I will happily go back to and play a number of times over. The story is engaging and suspenseful, though at times can be a little bizarre. The characters are likeable and believable in their actions. The facility you explore is very atmospheric and creepy. The music complements this and always keeps the mood really tense. The dinosaurs are challenging, and overall, the game is just really fun and never loses interest with me. The fact that you're able to choose how you want to progress, as well as what type of game experience you have, be it combat or puzzles, gives a sense of freedom to it that most games at that time didn't have. It's like how Mega Man games gave you the choice of which order you wanted to fight the Robot Masters. Also, the multiple endings add to the replayability, so you can experience a different route as well as a different outcome, ensuring that a second playthrough will present you with a fresh experience. If the inventory system was a lot more user-friendly and didn't have that bullshit stack limitation, I'd not have any problem with this game at all. It lived up to my expectations and the awesomeness that the demo promised. The right amount of challenge, with the added element of dread that there was always the possibility of another dino just around the corner.
This is a series that has a huge cult following, and many gamers, us included, think it's time for a revival for the series. Whenever you see the idea of reboots or rebooted IPs, and Capcom's brought up, Dino Crisis is usually on that list. Hell, with Jurassic World now out, people are once again in a dino craze, so to bring out a new Dino Crisis game, this would be the perfect time.
Well, the next time we return to the world of the prehistoric, we'll be taking a look at the sequel, Dino Crisis 2, also for the PlayStation. Is it just as good as, or even better than the first? Well, you'll just have to wait and find out. Until then, if you have any suggestions for a game you want me to look at, by all means, drop me a comment. Thank you all for watching, and we will catch you guys next time.
Give me a real challenge. Surprise me.
Well, okay. I'll tell you one way she can surprise you. Flashes of cleavage. No one would see it coming. For the life of me, I can't. I've got to try and find that tunnel. Oh! What the fuck was that?
Why are you commenting on this game? You're obviously not a fan if you can't remember Kate Sif is such and such a person. Fuck you. It's been 20 fucking years.
That's why. Yeah. 20 fucking years, yes. That's how long we've waited for this game. Our minds are going.